Welcome to Career in Ruins, where we've not been blown away by Storm Eunice, and we're celebrating Team GB curling gold.
It feels like you're celebrating Team GB's gold an hour after it took place.
I must admit, I didn't know I was watching a pre-recorded stream of it, and when you said the scoreline was incredible, I thought 3-1 doesn't seem that incredible. What are you talking about?
Doesn't matter. You still got to see the exciting moments. So yeah.
I know. As soon as I realised it was delayed, I may or may not have looked up the score. Anyway,
how you doing, bud? All right?
Yeah, all good. Still here. I don't know if our listeners can hear the blustering winds in the background. I feel like today's storm is almost as strong as yesterday's storm, which is good fun. For a while, at least, I was stuck in the house or stuck on the farm by trees on almost every angle, which was a joy, and had no power for 24 hours, which was all good.
That's, I guess, for people that are listening that aren't in the UK, which is at least 50% of our listeners now, I think we should say that we've been battered by storms since Thursday.
Yeah,
well, probably a week ago, to be honest.
Yeah, on and off. Yeah,
the first one. Yeah, I forget all their names. They've all got great names.
I remember Eunice.
Eunice is the big one, and then we've got another one, Franklin or something like that.
Yeah,
that's about to hit right now. But
hoping the power lasts long enough to get through a podcast.
But what's been catching your attention this week, bud?
It's storm related, so it's pretty relevant, as many of us do. I've been kind of doom scrolling through Twitter for the last few days, keeping an eye on
healthy.
Healthy. It's good for my mental health. looking for various stuff, and very rarely, as you know, you're the stronger player on social media among us. I dabble. I dip my toe in the waters occasionally, panic and run away. But something compelled me to actually not just do a retweet, but a retweet with comment, which is very rare for me.
Oh, blimey, something must have really caught your attention.
It did really catch my attention. And it was a feed from Butser Ancient Farm. And I just want to do a massive shout out to Butser, because it's an incredible place for starters. And anyone who hasn't been should go or watch the Horrible Histories movie and see it there.
We had Gareth Chafee.
We did, yeah.
We had Gareth Chafee coming and talking about reproductions that you'd previously worked on as well there.
Yeah. We did, and there's been some incredible work recently with one of our other guests, Richard Osgood's, I believe, been doing some reconstruction work there on some of their finds. So really cool place, well worth going to see. A bunch of reconstruction, houses, buildings, roundhouses, Viking houses, Roman houses, and they posted a long thread about the impact of Storm Eunice, and this sort of got me pondering, and I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. If not, I've definitely ranted to my students about it, about the power of reconstructions, particularly a lot of digital reconstructions, I think, to give you the perception that the past was sunny and clean and nice. And the reality is, people in prehistory, early history, just antiquity across the board would have experienced the same god-awful weather conditions we're experiencing at the moment. Okay, maybe not with the kind of underlying current of climate change and whatnot, but still some pretty diabolical conditions. And it's really refreshing to see that discussed in an experimental context. Which houses survive the best in the wind? Which roofing styles survive the best? The sort of long-standing theory that round houses are such a common architectural style because they're so robust against the wind. I think some of the houses have kind of proved that. Admittedly, some of the thatch looked a bit stronger than other thatches at Butser. I'm not sure all thatch is created equal, but it was interesting to see the variety of damage and lack of damage across the reconstructions.
I think that lack of damage point's quite striking. I've got a couple of fence panels that blew down, and that's largely linked to poor materials and poor construction choices. So bad craftsman might blame his tools as that,
Sort of seems like you're better off with a hedge there, to be honest.
Yeah, all right. That's a very topical in-joke, but hopefully my neighbour doesn't listen to this podcast. But I just out the window to my right here, I can see Hambledon Hill, and it's a regular walk for me on a daily basis with the dogs. And I always get struck by how blooming windy it is up there, even on a lovely sunny day. So being up there during a storm must have been absolutely bananas. This big Iron Age hill fort exposed to all the natural climates that come in. I'm trying to think of the weathers. I've lost. What's that phrase? What's the phrase? Exposed to all the
weather, Lawrence. You know the one. Weather.
You can tell it's a Sunday. Yeah, and it's a great thread. We should retweet it. But I was particularly struck by the lack of damage to these structures that you might consider to be a bit crude in comparison to modern construction techniques, but actually they're certainly doing better than my fence.
Oh, so yeah, really interesting. But how about you? What's been on your mind?
Not a whole lot. I just trying to force myself to write stuff and enjoying tweets and Time Team videos going out that are quite timely to mug off Miles Russell and previous podcast participants at Rockbourne Roman Villa. But that's another subject altogether. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I must confess, I've been very much looking forward to today's podcast, because this is a podcast that we've had to reschedule 3 or 4 times now, largely to do with either our workloads or storm influences. So either our fault or influence from nature. But we finally managed to find a time when we all have power, working equipment, and we can actually find the time to do it. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce today's participant, which is Naomi Sewpaul, who's an archaeozoologist and environmental archaeologist who has a long history in academia as well as working in commercial archaeological sector, and is currently known as a floatation queen or environmental archaeologist at the West Yorkshire Archaeological Service, and may also be known for her fantastic contribution and appearances in the Time Team series over the last few years. So Naomi, welcome to Career in Ruins.
Hello guys, you all right?
Yeah, really well, thank you. It's so good to see you. Before we hit the record button, we were just saying it's been months since we've seen. It's probably September really since we've seen each other last.
Yeah, end of September. Time has gone past really quickly, and also not. But yeah, I've missed seeing you guys.
Oh, it's great to see you, and thank you for reorganising your diaries for us, and then getting over the storm influences.
Oh, don't. With me, there's always going to be some kind of weird extravaganza that means that we can't meet or speak. But yeah, we're here. I'm here now.
We're here.
So,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And thank you for joining us. I've been really looking forward to tonight's podcast. So I wonder if we can just hit the ground running, and you can take us through a gentle journey through your career in ruins today.
Oh, hi. How does this begin to start? I mean, basically, I wanted to be an archaeologist since I was about 5. I remember my auntie, my mum's sister, saying to me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I went, "Archaeologist." And she kind of looked at me and started backing out of the room. And it's weird because I didn't really know about archaeology. My mum loved ancient Egypt, China, terracotta army, all that kind of thing. But I got to tell you, as a child, well, you guys know me a bit now, but I was even weirder as a child. Like, I couldn't stand to be dirty. If you gave me a chocolate bar or a Kit Kat, it had to be wrapped in foil. I had to hold it and this, that, and the other. I wouldn't even walk on grass or sand, even with shoes on. And then I must have had a bang on the head, and now I'm covered in mud from 9 to 5 the whole way through. So yeah, I've always wanted to do archaeology, and I've tailored. You know when you're at school and they're like, you can take history or geography, and I always dropped the geography, took the history, and I tried to tailor everything towards a historical or archaeological route. And I was very lucky actually to do an A-level in archaeology, which I'm not sure even exists now.
No, it's been dumped.
Yeah, it's terrible. And so yeah, I did that, and then off I went to uni. But to be honest, when I was at school, I don't know if you can even believe this, like when I was 14, 15, we had work experience to do. Everyone went and got an office position or whatever. And I was like, no, I want to do archaeology. And I did. And I got a gig, as it were, at an excavation with a Bronze Age ring ditch in Shardlow in Derby. And I was 14, almost 15. And I was there for a couple of days. And then they worked out that in terms of health and safety and whatever, that I shouldn't have been there. And they booted me out, and I was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken, going, no, well, this is the end of it. And then I finished my 2 weeks work experience at Kelham Island Museum in Sheffield. I don't know if you've ever been down to Kelham Island.
No.
I love Kelham Island. I used to live round the corner. It's a fantastic museum and pub.
Yeah, the Fat Cat pub, beautiful. There's so much nice stuff around there, eating and drinking wise. So yeah, and I can't remember much about the placement apart from helping to design their logo and drinking lots of hot chocolate from a vending machine, which was really cool. And that's all I remembered, to be honest. But then after that, I was looking to get some experience before I went to university, and I sent an email to Sheffield University archaeology department and said, can I come and be on some digs? And there was a lovely woman called Pat Wagner. I don't know if you know her or not. And she went, okay, ring me at 6 o'clock on this day, and we'll see if we can accommodate you. She will tell this story better than me. She's like, 1 minute past 6. Phone goes, it's me going, hiya, can I come and dig? And she's like, yeah, come and have a week and see if you like it. And off I went out into the Yorkshire Wolds, which was part of the Warren Percy research project. So it was Sheffield University first year sort of, teaching digs. And the research project kind of took over from when they stopped digging. And it was a great place to be. And I was there from sort of 95, 96 till about 99, 2000. Beautiful, beautiful archaeology. Like, you couldn't wish for more to cut your archaeological teeth on the Yorkshire Wolds. You just couldn't. Beautiful black and white sort of archaeology. There's nothing better than digging a 3-meter deep ditch with chalk-lined sides.
Now you're talking.
Oh, yeah. If there was ever a use for a leaf trowel, that was it, to clean that up for a photography. Oh. And I remember going there. I remember turning up going, well, what do I look for? And they were like, just look for sort of brown and red bits in the ground, because it's true. Like, how do you tell somebody what to look for in the ground? So I guess I was looking for pottery and bone. And the first thing that I came across was a sheep burial. And they believed at the time that it was just a sheep that farmers had buried. And it wasn't. It was an Iron Age sheep burial with pottery and stuff around it. And I've still got the little permatrace, a copy of the permatrace drawing that I did, which is rubbish. That's one of the reasons why I don't dig anymore, because I was terrible at drawing. Sections, plans, nothing. It just sent me into a sweat trying to work out all the maths between, this is a 1 to 10, no, this is a 1 to 20. No, ridiculous, no. And I spent many, many lovely years there. And so from then on, I guess I eventually went to university. And I went to the University of Bradford. I did a 4-year degree course. And the third year, as it turned out, was your placement year.
Oh, nice.
Which was amazing. And I worked for the Yorkshire Dales Hunter-Gatherer Research Project. So Mesolithic cave sites. That's where I really sort of picked up my animal bone stuff. I guess from that sheep burial, actually, it set the seed for me going, animal bones, these are cool. And it just followed me ever since then. And so we did that. But my first year at university, you never guess where I went to go for my first year field school.
Oh, let's do yes/no questions. Is it in the UK?
No.
Oh, is it in Europe?
Yes.
Your turn, Derek.
Ooh. Is it somewhere with traditionally nice weather?
Yeah.
Is it a high-profile site?
Yes.
Oh.
Have we stumbled across a new game? This is amazing.
Yeah, I think we might have done, yeah. Is it coastal?
Oh, now you're testing my geography. No.
Okay.
Is it in Italy?
Yes.
Oh, what a punt. Is it in the capital city?
Yeah. Has a nice volcano with it.
Not Pompeii.
Yes, Pompeii.
OMG. Tell us more.
I think 3 more questions we might have got there.
And I was so lucky because that was one of the options. At the University of Bradford, they would say, right, everyone had to go to a field school. A lot of people went to Scatness, and a massive long project went up there with the old Brocks of Scatness. And Pompeii was one of them. And I remember even as a student, you had to fill out a form and you had to put your case forward. And there was literally a list on the wall going, yeah, you've been chosen. You know, like in the American films, you see a list on the wall and you go, I've been chosen.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what it was like. And off I went to Pompeii for nearly 2 months in a tent, which was a new experience all around.
In a tent?
In a tent, yeah.
Oh,
in
nice.
a tent. Yeah, the campsite was called Camping Spartacus, believe it or not.
Surely you invented a nice drinking game based around that.
Don't even talk about drinking games. I can't even look at limoncello ever the same again. Absolutely not. But yeah, a fantastic experience. But it just kind of shows, because I've never been a very lucky archaeologist in terms of digging and finding things like that Iron Age sheep burial in the Yorkshire Wolds. That was it. After that, it felt kind of flat. Even in Pompeii, did you find anything? No. People are like, how did you go to Pompeii and not find anything? It's like, well, except that I had to evacuate one of my trenches because they thought there was a World War II bomb. It turned out not to be the case.
It was a bucket from last year.
But that was the most exciting thing. But it was a brilliant experience because not only did we learn excavation, we learned about recording, buildings and painted wall plaster and all that kind of thing.
Jazz. I'm a firm believer in the role of a third year placement year.
Yeah,
I think that's
100%.
incredible. I know Bournemouth University offer it as an option, but don't necessarily enforce it. But in previous roles, we've had placement students, and I know you've had Derek students going all over the place, and they're always just brilliant. And you see them going on to get such fruitful careers, which I think your case in point here, Naomi, as well. But sorry to interrupt your flow there.
Well, no, I don't know about the fruitful career bit, but yeah, it was great. And because it wasn't just Bradford University, it was a mixture of American universities and people from Australia. One person of which that I, met there, didn't know very well. 10 years later, we met at the University of Hull and became, like family, as it were. But yeah, Pompeii was great. And that was actually the first time I had to go at flotation.
Ah.
And it was so hot. It was so hot. So being in a cold sort of pool of water, mixing stuff around was beautiful. Okay. So fast forward to about a year later, North Yorkshire, Malham, actually.
A bit different.
Crack on with the tank. This is very, very, very cold. Not the same experience. Outdoor, very cold.
I've got to admit, the last time I went near a flotation tank, it would have been probably over a decade ago now at Wessex Archaeology at their base in Salisbury. And they had a lovely kind of sheltered flotation tank set up, 2 big flotation tanks. And it was over a Christmas winter period. And I remember having to chip through the ice to be able to float anything. And it was unbelievably horrid.
Yeah, awful.
For those listeners that don't necessarily know what a flotation tank is, it's kind of the essence of environmental archaeology, or one of the starting foundations for that whole process. Do you fancy talking us through it?
It really is. So essentially, a flotation tank is a square or rectangular vessel that has water pumping through it from the underneath to create kind of an upcurrent, as it were. And so you pour a soil sample in. The heavy part of that soil sample sinks to the bottom. And then if anything that's light, let's think, snails, charcoal, carbonized grain, anything like that will float across the top, go up and out into your little sieve, and that's your flot, which then gets looked at in minute detail at whatever's in there. But the bit that's in the bottom, your rocks, as it were, you look for finds or any other parts of, what's happening in your archaeological site, I guess. the way that I like to explain flotation, people go, "Oh, why do you wash soil?" And it winds me up. Like, you don't wash soil. You don't wash soil.
I've already got the name of this podcast, The Career in Washing Soil.
Exactly. I like to think of it as excavating with water, because when you're digging on a site, especially if you've got a really clayey site, we all know what clay is like. It's a pain, an absolute pain, whether it's wet or dry, and you can't see a lot. So it's good to take a sample, put it in that tank, and you get a lot of information out of it. So that's how I like to think of flotation. So it's not even just about the environmental side, it's about artifact retrieval. At the moment, we have a big cemetery at one of our work sites at the minute that we didn't expect. And so they're lifting those skeletons and they're taking 100% the soil in and around it, which is amazing, because not only will that hopefully retrieve the little bones that are in your hands and your feet, things that might be missed by eye, but things like grave goods. And I'm not talking anything big here. I'm talking about a bracelet that might have lots of little clay or glass beads. And you can't see that. You just cannot see that by eye. The reason why I don't dig outside anymore is because the ridiculous weather conditions that we get, and our field staff at the minute are really struggling against it. So if you're trying to battle the elements, you can't see everything. You take those soil samples and yeah, you can get some magical wonders that come out.
What I love about what you've just talked through, it's easy to get distracted by whizzy technology like drones and LiDAR. It's easy to look at geophysics because it's a visual immediate output. Excavation, diggers, trowels, pickaxes or mattocks, whatever we're thinking about, that's an easy sell. But that environmental side, just not quite that well understood or appreciated by the general public, but also so important for our discipline as a whole, for answering bigger questions about a site, about an individual, about a feature, and just that idea that the excavation through water carries on after the physical excavation is often overlooked, but so important. And this week's podcast that went out this evening with Rob, he starts off his interview saying that he first got into archaeology as a 5-year-old when his uncle turned up with some charred grains that he'd got from a local excavation as part of his community excavation thing. So the environmental archaeology, or the ecofacts, as Derek called it in the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Ecofacts, yes, 100%. Yeah,
they're what gave Rob his impetus and his passion to start a career in archaeology. So they're everything that we do, from beginning in geophysics to end in the environmental, and sort of feeding into that understanding of the site is so important on so many levels, and I love it.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, 9 times out of 10 when I'm floating, there's nothing that actually floats environmentally, but it's what's found in the retent. Whether it's that one piece of pottery that you didn't get on the entire site. There was a site that we had recently, and there was about 2 pieces of Bronze Age pottery, and I found 12 pieces in a number of samples. So it increased that totally, and increased that, because that's what you want for dating evidence. So that's what I love about it more than the environment, not more than the environmental side, but really appreciating the fact that you can float to have artifact retrieval, and it could be the make or break of dating a deposit, or that's what keeps me going every single day.
So you were introduced to environmental archaeology and excavation by water at Pompeii, but you carried that on when you got back to the UK.
I did.
Where did you take it from there?
So after basically the year with my with the Yorkshire Jail Sun together a research project, after that, my next experience was I got a job with English Heritage at Whitby. And actually, I was about to say it was my first job after I graduated, except that it wasn't. I was there for about 2 weeks, had to get on the coach from Whitby back to graduate to come back, and then it was my first job after I graduated. But yeah, it was all to do with environmental archaeology, finds processing, all of that kind of thing. And actually, that was a bit of a nightmare. So you must have noticed that, when I've been at my flotation tank with Time Team, I have to stand on a pallet because I'm only 4'9" 3/4. And so it was a similar situation. They had these breeze blocks and they were a bit unstable. And I remember getting a bucket and pouring it in and then kind of falling off the breeze block.
Oh.
And I completely wrecked my wrist. I thought I broke my wrist. At the same time, a big important person from English Heritage we were supposed to be receiving came in, and I was like, "Hi, yes, welcome here to Whitby. Please, can you take me to hospital because I kind of fallen into the flotation tank after standing on breeze blocks, and that's why I have a pallet now."
Good,
so
good.
I've not grown anymore. Obviously, wish I could have. But from there, I graduated, went to do my master's. In between, there wasn't a lot of archaeological work, so I actually got a temping job for Norwich Union.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Actually, what, Aviva or whatever they are now. I don't know if I can say these things, but and I was sorting through junk mail, and they would send back. You know, you used to get the free Parker pens.
Yeah.
I've got about 50 Parker pens upstairs.
That's good recycling.
that I've
Archaeology
got.
of the future.
They are good pens. And then not long after that, I got a job working for Arcus, and which was mainly a company that did work within Sheffield, specialised in industrial archaeology, of which I knew nothing about. Okay. And so I turned up, and I was there on my third day, and there were people there going, "Oh, time team are coming. And I just thought they were winding me up. Like, oh, wind up the new girl. And I was there, remember, about day 3, day 4, watching a machine, and there was this wall coming up. Nice thing about industrial archaeology, you see a wall, it's really nice and clear. And I was watching this machine, and all of a sudden I heard in my right ear, "Do you think it's an internal or an external wall?" I turned and went, "Oh!" And there was Tony Robinson.
Hey.
And I was like, "What?" And they were there backwards and forwards for 6 months to film this special about Sheffield, and it's called Steel City. And that was that, really. I never thought anything more about it. So I carried on with my life, started my PhD research, started teaching. And then I got a message one day saying, "Could you come and work with Time Team?" Okay, yeah. And I think at the time it was Raksha that couldn't do all of them. And so I was kind of filling in between. So this was in between teaching. So I'd started teaching at University of Bradford, at first as a certificate in the evening, then teaching in the daytime. And this went on and on. And then eventually I went and gave a guest lecture at Hull University. And on the back of that, they went, "Do you want to teach an environmental module?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Not realising that it wasn't already there, that I had to create the whole module for myself.
Oh, wow. Stitch up. Absolute stitch up.
And I was like, okay. But no, I was very, very grateful for that opportunity. And so over that sort of 10, 15-year period, I was teaching backwards and forwards between Hull and Bradford University. And at Hull, it was at night. And they were my best students. So I would teach from sort of 7 till 9:30 at night and then drive back. They were the best people to teach. They really were, because they wanted to be there. They were enthusiastic. And the last class that I had, actually, one of my students said, "My parents can't make the graduation, have my ticket," because you know what it's like in a graduation. You get 2 tickets, you can't, invite anybody. And I was there, crying my eyes out, whooping them all across the stage. And I absolutely miss teaching in that respect. And Hull University, because it was part-time, they got rid of part-time degree, and I was feeling a bit down. And then I got a message going, "Hey, you can deal with soil, can't you?" Because everyone knew me as a bone person. I was like, "Yeah, of course I can deal with soil." And they went, "We've got a backlog of soil. Come for 2 weeks, help us out." And I did. And the person that actually asked me was one of my first ever students at Bradford University.
Oh.
It had come round in a massive circle, and I went, "Yeah, I'll be there for a couple of weeks." And like I say, almost 5 years later, I'm still there.
And that's the West Yorkshire Archaeological Service.
Yeah.
There's so much good things to pick out of there. I don't know where to start, but one thing we always say is that you make your own luck. There are obviously things that you can't help that are lucky, but one thing you've spoken about throughout this is the sort of chasing up Pat at 9:01 to make sure you got that work placement after your first one fell through, or pushing through and getting all your different jobs and experiences. And obviously you left your teaching to that student that invited you to come and help out at West Yorkshire Archaeological Service.
Yeah, the universe works in mysterious ways. It really does.
But you clearly work in very good ways, because that student's remembered you and gone, exactly. I know the right person to ask. This person, great to work with.
I never thought about it that way, but yeah, okay.
Definitely the way to think about it. You make your own luck in these things, and you reap what you sow, perhaps is a better terminology for it. And it's nice to see that playing out in your career.
Yeah.
Similarly, I've been scribbling down note after note after note throughout your story, Naomi. And what struck me most, and this is absolute self-indulgence on my part, is just how many times our career sort of randomly intersected and we didn't know about it, or our lives randomly intersected. Just little things popped out in your story that got me thinking. Obviously, I was a Sheffield student for a while, and I worked at Arcus to pay for my fees for quite some time. So I was a consultant for Arcus doing slag analysis, which is a thing.
Yeah, it is.
And when you work in Sheffield and you're an industrial unit, that is something that you get a lot of. So it kept me going.
So you went to the dark side, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine.
But also Kellam Museum, as I said already, I lived really close to it. It was one of my favourite places when I was in Sheffield, to the point when it came to getting married and I needed wedding invitations. They've got an old-timey printing press in there, and a chap used to do commercial printing, but in a traditional way. So I went and got our wedding invites printed in Kellam Museum. There you go. And they were lovely, really authentic looking.
Beautiful.
That's a really nice run through your career to date. I guess you touched on your time team bits and bobs there, but you've done many an episode. Are you aware of how many you've attended?
It's weird because, so I started with Time Team in 2006. Everything was filmed a year before, and the year later it would come out. So when that came out, it would have been 2007. And I've still got the mug that the school made, and it was at Hook Court. And that was my first experience. So from 2006 to kind of when it finished in 2011, 2012, I was there. And I wasn't always there as a digger, because my body and mind gave up for digging. And like I said, I was rubbish at the drawings and all that kind of thing.
Me too.
Tim and other people sort of saw me as a specialist and wanted me to be there for bones and stuff. In fact, the very last one that we did of series 20 was at Brancaster, and I was there as an archaeozoologist, and I have never had so much bone come through. I was busier there than I ever was digging at all. I remember just running around being so stressed and going, bones, and then that was that, and then it finished. And what was lovely throughout the whole of this is what you've got to understand. Okay, so when I was a kid, I remember Time Team being on TV. So I would have been before GCSEs going, this TV show that does archaeology, that's what I want to do. We didn't have the History Channel, we didn't have all the things that we have now.
4 channels.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. There definitely wasn't Channel 5 at that point. And loving it. But the weird thread that has gone through this is because Tony, everyone talks about Blackadder, but for me, I knew him from Maid Marian.
Yes.
And before that, which I didn't realise until I met Tony on Time Team, that he wrote children's books. And I have those children's books, and I read them, and I loved them. And I didn't even realise. It was always, weirdly, I guess, kind of meant to be. And I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And then it finished, and I was really astonished to see all the campaigns to bring Time Team back and do this, and this. And then the Patreons came through, and they went, it's coming back. Yeah. Long story short, that's where we are now, for better or worse.
The beauty of that is that's how we got to meet you. So back in September last year, in Cornwall and then in Oxfordshire, we got to hang out for 2 long weekends, and it was an absolute pleasure.
It is true. And actually, on that drive down to Cornwall, oh my God, 9 hours there, 10 hours back. Ugh, I don't want to go through that again for love nor money. And I actually loaded up my phone with I'm all about podcasts when I'm driving. It used to be music. I'm all about podcasts. And I loaded a load up, including some of yours from your... I want you to start from the... No, wait, don't go too quickly. I loaded it up from the beginning, and even through the 9 hours there and the 10 hours back, it never got to yours.
Got it.
And actually, as I was driving along, because I knew I was going to be meeting you guys, I made the decision not to listen because I wanted to meet you first with no sort of...
Those idiots just laughing about jokes, their own terrible jokes.
And... yeah, you guys are great. You did a brilliant job. I told you on that first, we sat having a drink on that first night and we were in Cornwall, me, you, Danny and Derek and everything going, we're here. And you gave me your little pin badge.
Career pin, yeah. Oh, it was so much fun.
Yeah, just fantastic. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been very different this time round for me. I guess from Time Team ending the first time to now, I'd like to say I was 9 years older and wiser. I don't know whether wiser is the word, but my goodness, what a ride it's been. And I could not be any more proud and happy to be flying that flag. You know, when I've got that Time Team logo on my chest with my hoodie or whatever, that I'm so proud and I'm so happy, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see the programs. I also know I want to hide behind a cushion just just in case. But
you'll be a fantastic addition as ever, I'm sure. And you've hit a perfect word there, which allows us to segue smoothly and perfectly into the next section of the podcast, which is the set questions that we have. And the first one of those is an element of work that you're particularly proud of, and I wondered whether you'd fancy elaborating on that.
Well, I guess anything from the beginning of where I really started to study animal bone, and I had a great opportunity with that placement year. We were allowed to take another module within the university. It could be anything. So my partner Tom, he took a GIS module. A friend and I just going straight for archaeozoology, and we luckily had a lecturer that took us every single day for an extra 9 months through every single little thing. And so by the time I finished my degree and then went to my master's, I was strides ahead in a way. It stood me in really good stead, and that really cemented the whole animal bone thing, which, by the way, is a weird career for a vegetarian. But let me tell you, there's a lot of archaeozoologists that are vegetarian. I don't know what that means. Somebody do a study on it and get back to us. I've tried to work it out. I don't know.
Makes me wonder which came first, being an archaeozoologist, becoming a vegetarian, or being a vegetarian and being drawn to archaeozoology.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Maybe I'll work it out one day. I'm not sure.
I wonder if a lot of vegetarians are animal lovers, and maybe that's the link. They love to see animals alive and dead
from the inside.
Maybe it is, but you know, when I see sort of, you know, sometimes there are programs and they talk about butchery and this, that, and the other, and like, oh, but you can't watch this, Naomi. Yeah, I can. I'm interested from an academic point of view. As long as you don't make me eat it, I'm fine. You know, I'm fine. But yes, that's one of the sort of the proudest parts of my career, was learning the archaeozoology through different sort of guises. But yeah, definitely with Time Team, because I never anticipated it at all. Being there in that steel mill with Tony next to me, and then 3 years later, in fact, when I went to the first shoot, and it had been 3 years, and I saw Tony, he came in late at night. He'd been in whatever country, just flown in, and it was late. And I stood up and kind of went, oh, I better go and say hello. He won't remember me. And he came running and gave me a big hug, and he went, it's taken me 3 years to get you here, but you're here.
Oh, that's lovely.
That is lovely. That is a proud moment as well.
It really, honestly, it absolutely is. Whether I did any of it justice between then and the end of that and now, I don't know.
Definitely did.
But what I love about this kind of incantation is being able to do more of the environmental stuff, more of the bone stuff, and the way that we can do, and like all the work that you guys have done behind the scenes and filming X, Y, and Z, you can get so much more information out to people rather than just that sort of 1 hour program.
I think that's something I really enjoyed about making the two that we just did and the behind the scenes stuff, as you say, is so much is going to inevitably make the cutting room floor. It has to. You have to condense 3 days into an hour. So much is going to be lost. And a lot of that stuff, it gets lost. While it might not be the most televisual eye-catching in the world, it's a bit that tells a real archaeology story. And I think that's talking to you during the digs and talking to a lot of the folks behind the scenes doing the real hard work to get those stories out of the ground and out of the evidence and tell those stories, and being able to share that in a much bigger way is so much fun. I've really enjoyed it.
But you say it's lost to the cutting room floor, but I don't think it is, because of all the extra little videos that have been able to come out.
I think that's it. We can bring it back from the cutting room. We can save it and share it.
And that's what people want to see this time round. Yeah, we want to see a traditional time team program, but that's what people do want to see.
I think in terms of content released so far, they've probably had per episode at least 2 or 3 hours worth of extra content already, and there's more to come, which is really exciting.
I know. Terrifying but exciting, but yeah.
So lots to be proud of, but I think I mean I can understand all of that. So if we turn to envy, obviously you've had a pretty enviable career in a big way, I think particularly with the time team stuff and things like that. But is there anything out there that you think, do you know what, I wish I was involved in that?
Yeah, right now, to be honest, at work we've had a beautiful site, and it came with a massive Bronze Age cremation urn. I'm not talking sort of A4 sized cremation urn. If you try and imagine a cremation urn as an A4 size, this is more like A3 and beyond. Absolutely pure, perfect, wrapped in bandages. Couldn't wait to get my hands on it. And it's been sent somewhere else. But it's fine, because I know that they can do X-ray straight away and conservation straight away. But it doesn't take away from the fact, like, I want to be the person looking inside that.
Oh, I could completely appreciate that. Will you get to see any X-rays yet, or? Yeah,
we'll get the data back and the information, but it's like, it's my goodness, it's really not the same. I'll show you a picture at some point, I guess, guys. But yeah, it was so perfect. But yeah, I've been lucky. There's nothing much enviable. To be honest, I'm really happy that I'm still in archaeology. When I started my degree, there was like 90 people on my course. And within that first year, it dropped down to 30 because people went, this isn't what I signed up for, that kind of Indiana Jones digging aspect. And I'm just really glad and happy that I've been able to stay in archaeology this whole time, because not a lot of people have.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So we talked about envy and pride. And they're both fantastic answers. I can almost picture the email exchange with regards to the cremation and them going,
block capitals.
What? Like wanting to get the best for it, but at the same time wanting to do it yourself. It's like pitching that email tone just about right.
It was when one of the diggers came in and saw it in one of those sort of clip top locked boxes, and we opened it up. And I could hear, I was at the flotation tack, and I could hear her go, oh, even though it's covered in bandages, you can see how beautiful it is. And it's true. And
you waved it off out the door.
Yeah. And I cried. I was like, so long, my friend. Yes.
So what about our time machine then? We've got some return tickets here with your name on it. Where would you like to take it? And what would you like to see?
I have thought about this a lot, and we have this conversation daily going, oh yeah, that's where my time machine would go. I guess on one respect, for an archaeologist, obviously if we had a time machine full time, then we'd all be out of a job, right? So
yeah, it was only one trip. I mean, Derek and I get to go on them all. Yeah.
It's only one trip. Can I have one trip? Okay, I'm gonna ignore that and tell you what I'm gonna say now, which is, sometimes when you're on a site, or even when you're in the lab going, why the hell is that there? Why is that? And you just want to go like in Family Guy when he's got his time machine, and you go see that snapshot and come back out again and go, oh, okay, yeah, fine. That's why that is there, right? There's 1,000,001 of those. But my biggest one with the time machine. Do you have pets, guys?
Yeah, we've got dogs.
Yeah, you've got dogs. You don't have cats?
I got 2 cats, yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Okay, so the Egyptians, yeah? They're revered cats. They loved cats. They were brilliant. You see hieroglyphics and all this beautiful cartography and cats mummified and all of that. But we all know that cats do weird stuff daily, by the minute. They're licking their bellies, they get their legs stuck in whatever positions, and every single day I go, where is this in the hieroglyphics? What made the cats so beautiful and reverent to them? Because this is not what we're getting now. So that is what I would use my time machine for, to see that.
That is a fantastic answer. And there was a moment you may have seen relief in Lawrence and I's faces there, because I think for a minute there I thought you may have been coordinating with Neil. Neil, if you're listening, we love you very much.
We love you. But
I love Neil.
In terms of time machine uses, to go back and see your kittens being born, it was a stretch. It was a stretch even for us, I think. But when you mentioned Egypt, the relief flowed over me.
But yeah, seriously, literally every single day our cats will get stuck or doing something, or you'll see something on the internet and you're like, where? It's the staple cry of my household. Where is this in the hieroglyphics? What was so good? What did they see? That's my trip in the time machine.
Either cats were wonderfully regal in Egyptian times, and then something went wrong, something changed, and cats became absolute dickheads.
Yeah.
Or cats have always been idiots.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you've got it there. You've got it right there.
I like to think it's like the world's longest troll, because the only reason I have TikTok is because my friend used to send me cat videos on TikTok, and I was like, I need to see these cat videos. These are amazing. And now we daily share a video at least once of a stupid cat video from TikTok.
Exactly.
So presumably the Egyptians knew that they were idiots, but portrayed them as great at things.
What I'd like to see is, you know, when cats like lick themselves and their tongue gets stuck out and it's full of bleb. Where's that as a hieroglyphic? I want to see a hieroglyphic bleb.
Oh my goodness, this is...
That's what I want to see.
This is probably the best use of the time machine we've ever had.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's totally our level as well. You pitched it perfectly. I was pretending we want to be educated by other people. But actually,
you're going to be up all night thinking about this. Sorry.
We just want to go and understand what cats are doing in Egypt time and maybe make a TikTok video.
It's all about cat hieroglyphs.
Naomi, thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been absolute pleasure to have you with us and to talk us through your career and to get some insights and to now go away and think about cats in Egypt.
When I have these crazy thoughts, apparently I kind of run in my sleep. Like my legs go in my sleep. And so, yeah, now you guys, you're going to be running in your sleep. So I apologize to your respective partners and such that you're going to be running in your sleep now.
Yeah, my tongue's sticking out. What's wrong with you?
Sorry. You're blepping. Yeah.
Sleep blepping.
Right. Well, that so ends this week's podcast. We've got a fantastic interview lined up next week. Derek, who's this with?
Yeah, that's right. Next week we've got an interview with Arwa Karobi, who is one of my brilliant colleagues, or was one of my brilliant colleagues at Bournemouth, and she's had an incredible career in ruins. So I'm looking forward to chatting to her.
That's it. And that's going to be episode 8 of the series?
So, maybe.
Yeah, episode 8. I think that's fair. And we might have one more bonus episode after that. We're just chatting to our friends and colleagues at a special interest group at the Chartered Institute for Archaeologists. More details on that. But otherwise, we're kind of shuttling closer towards... Shuttling? Is that the right word? Shuffling. Moving, heading towards... Scuttling. Oh, goodness.
Scuttling.
You can tell it's late on a Sunday. We're sort of heading towards the end of this series. So we'll keep looking out for opportunities. But for the time being, thank you for all our participants. Thank you to everyone that listens. Thank you all our Patreon supporters who have made this series possible and the new ones that have joined since. And we'll catch up with you next week.